This is The Scoop for Thursday.
I'm Sean Canan with the WMNF News headlines. On Tuesday, students walked out of a Broward County high school in support of transgender rights. WMNF's Chris Young reports school staff are being investigated after a transgender student played on the girls' volleyball team.
During the investigation at Monarch High School in Coconut Creek, the principal and 4 other staff members were reassigned to other positions. Broward County Public School Superintendent Peter Licata spoke to WPLG-TV.
We want to make sure we do this right. Nobody is guilty of anything at this point. That's what an investigation is for.
In 2021, Governor Ron DeSantis signed a law banning transgender girls from playing on girls' public school teams. Scott Galvin is the executive director of Safe Schools South Florida, an LGBTQ advocacy organization.
This is a minor. This is a young lady playing sports in high school. This is not, some sort of really dangerous situation.
The investigation is still underway. For WMNF News, I'm Chris Young.
Meanwhile, students at that same high school walked out for the second day in a row yesterday, according to the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. The UN Weather Agency says 2023 is all but certain to be the hottest year on record, and warning of worrying trends that suggest increasing floods, wildfires, glacier melt, and heat waves in the future. The World Meteorological Organization also warned that the average temperatures for the year is up about 1.4 degrees from pre-industrial times. That's only 1/10 of a degree under the target climate limit for the end of the century, as laid out by the Paris Climate Accord in 2015. Former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger has died at the age of 100, but he was never convicted of war crimes. Here's more from Donna Warder.
Global leaders are paying tribute to former U.S. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, who died Wednesday at the age of 100. Israeli President Isaac Herzog had praise for Kissinger, who as a young boy in a Jewish family fled the Nazis.
He laid the cornerstone of the peace agreement, which were later signed with Egypt, and so many other processes around the world. I admired Henry Kissinger.
And current U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says Kissinger set the standard for every Secretary of State who followed. But there's also been sharp criticism of the diplomat who received the Nobel Peace Prize for his role in negotiating a ceasefire in Vietnam in 1973. Cambodian American and political scientist Paul Ear writes in The Conversation that the bombing campaign on Cambodia under Kissinger's watch set a path for the ravages of the Khmer Rouge, and he says those bombs are still destroying lives. I'm Donna Warder.
Florida would give state recognition to 3 Native American tribes in the Panhandle under a bill filed yesterday by a Pensacola Republican representative. The bill would recognize the Santa Rosa Band of the Lower Muskegee, the Muskegee Nation of Florida, and the Lower Chattahoochee Band of Yuchi Indians. Dyslexia affects 1 out of every 5 people. WMNF's Colleen Cole reports there's a company using AI to help people with dyslexia.
People with dyslexia have difficulty processing written language. Dyslexia represents 80 to 90% of people with learning disabilities. A new artificial intelligence program might be able to help correct dyslexia. Dr. Carl Ho is a clinical linguist and the CEO and co-founder of EduNational.
Well, because of this complexity, we need a computing solution that can find these bits and bytes of error in the code for each person, right? And because language processing difficulties vary so much from person to person, we need artificial intelligence to customize the program for every one of them. And here in the US, you're talking about over 10 million children with dyslexia.
The way it works is the computer generates interactive verbal games to evaluate each student. Then, based on the student's responses, the AI will produce new corrective games to help their underlying language processing difficulties. The program is called Dissolve. For WMNF News, I'm Colleen Cole.
It'll be partly cloudy, breezy, and warm today with highs in the high 70s. Tonight, mostly cloudy, not as cool as the last couple of nights. Overnight lows will be in the low 60s. And tomorrow, partly cloudy and hot. Highs will be in the low 80s. I'm Sean Canan with the WMNF News headlines.
This is The Scoop, recorded at WMNF Tampa.